What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about British soldiers versus American soldiers, a military comparison, a soldier comparison. Now, this might come as a bit of a startling shock to you, but Americans and America is really, really into the whole having a military thing and spending a whole lot of money on our military. We love it. We're very into it. And to be completely honest, I think, any country all over the world, people are supportive of their servicemen and military personnel and those heroes that are representing your country, putting themselves in harm's way. All countries are supportive of those people, but America, aside from that, loves to just spend money, like such crazy amounts of our budget on military. Now, as an American, I think there's this sense of Americans basically would say, well, it's way, way, way overkill how much we spend on military. But if you're gonna overspend on something and just like invest way too much into it than makes any kind of sense, having a military that's gigantic is not the worst thing ever. At least it gives us some sense of safety. That's kind of the feeling I get that a lot of Americans would kind of agree with. But when I actually pulled up the stats here, at least from 2020, it's just ridiculous. The United States spent $778 billion on military expenditures. The UK, 59 billion. Like like 1/15th of the spend, 1/16th, 1/15th the amount of money. Yet what's the American population? We're only like 5 times bigger than the UK population. We spend 15 times as much on the military, and that just seems to be like some kind of American thing that's been around forever. So I don't know how that's all going to affect this little comparison. I'm actually very interested to see in this video what it is we're going to compare about British soldiers and American soldiers. I know it has to do with how the soldiers in each country are trained and what kind of duties and tasks they have and that kind of thing. So I'm excited because, as an American, you hear all the time about our service members in a positive way, usually. So I haven't really had that kind of exposure to military and soldiers from other countries like Britain. So that sounds really, really interesting to me. So let's take a look.
There are many different types of military service, with the most renowned arguably being the Army. If you join the military, you could also end up working in the other main branches, which are the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, or even as a reserve.
Okay, so I think we're talking about the United States here, and the branches of the military. I actually don't know the branches of the British military in the United States. Like he said, we have the Army, it's probably the biggest, then Marines, a little more selective, and Coast Guard and Navy and Air Force. Is Britain kind of like that? Here we go. What are the branches of the British military? The armed forces include the British Army, the Royal Air Force. Ooh, that's kind of a cooler name, Royal Air Force. And Royal Navy. Oh, Royal Navy. Goodness, excuse me. Together, they're responsible for the safety and security of the UK. All right, are there more than that? There's 4 branches here. British Army, Royal Navy, Royal Air Force, and Royal Marines. Okay, very similar to the United States, actually, I believe.
There are many more things you could do that make you a military man or woman, so to not complicate matters too much, we will discuss the American and British armies today. We'll start with...
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. So we are comparing and contrasting the British, I think it's called the British Royal Army, right? Is that what it's called? UK, British Army. It's the only thing that's not royal. Okay. British Army compared to American Army members.
How you get into the Army and what it takes to do so. The American Army is the
Okay, how you get in and what it takes to do so.
and British armies today. We'll start with how you get into the Army and what it takes to do so. The American Army is the largest and oldest branch of the US military. It was founded in 1775 to fight the British during the American Revolution. It's now one of the largest
That's kind of funny. Like that detail is so obvious, but it actually slipped my mind when thinking about this video. The American Army, like the oldest purpose that since the beginning of our American history was fighting the British Army. Kind of funny how that all works.
largest and certainly most powerful armies in the world, with a total number of personnel of just under 1 million. The Brits
1 million. I wonder how the size of the US Army compares to the size of the British Army.
may have been fighting their battles for many centuries, but the British Army was only formally established in 1660. Prior to this, the English Army was the strongest military force in the region we now call the British Isles. Notwithstanding the British Army's successes and how it helped to forge an empire, the present British Army is quite small with around 112,000 personnel.
112,000. The narrator calls that quite small. It's not my words, it's his words. Quite small. Is America's just way, way, way like an outlier? Like, what's the average army of, countries around the planet? That's kind of a question I have. So, British Army is about 1/10 the size of the American Army, but Britain has like 1/5 the population. So, America recruits army servicemen and women at like double the rate, basically.
So how do you become a soldier in one of these armies? In the US, you must be between the ages of 18 and 35, although if your mother or father gives you consent, you can join at the age of 17.
I didn't know that, actually. Yeah, you can join the US Army at 18, but you can't drink alcohol yet. That is a classic in the United States. Our drinking age is 21. You can't drink a beer, but you can sign up for the Army. So, take that for what you will.
You should probably have a high school diploma, although most military websites do say that exceptions can be made,
Right.
especially if you have passed a general educational development test.
Yeah, I actually think, since he's kind of touching on it, education, going into the Army in the United States, there's a lot of people who just want to do it because it's a passion of theirs. But for a lot of people who don't get to graduate high school for some reason, or just don't have any kind of career path at all in their mind, the Army has always been this dependable, solid career path available to young men and women in the United States, basically.
They ask you not to have more than 2 dependents, and you must pass a medical exam and physical tests. They also require that you pass the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Test. We looked at example test questions online, and it seems you must know some basic English vocabulary and grammar, as well as have a fairly basic understanding of math, science, and mechanics.
I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know anything about, like, a U.S. Army entrance exam. Sounds like it's pretty basic. They want you to be able to, like, understand English well, just to, like, be able to communicate orders and stuff, I imagine.
You know the meaning of the word observe, or where the coolant flows in a car? If you do, you are partway there. Once all that is done with, you can start your 10 weeks of basic combat training, commonly referred to as boot camp.
Yeah.
If you want to join the regular British Army, you can do so at the age of 16 without any kind of qualifications.
You can join the British Army at 16? It's so funny, because 16 isn't that different from 17, which isn't that different from 18, but somehow 16 and 18 just seem worlds apart to me. Like, an 18-year-old is legally an adult in the United States. Maybe that's what's just been drilled into my mind. A 16-year-old signing up for the Army, that just seems like almost borderline a child still. I don't know.
Remember that Brits can leave school at 15 if they don't or can't take A levels. This might be a reason why the BBC reported in 2013 that 39% of new recruits to the British Army have a reading age of 11. On the other hand, to join the officer,
So it's kind of similar in Britain by the sound of it?
9% of new recruits to the British Army have a
Yeah, that a lot of the new recruits are maybe individuals in some kind of life circumstance where they're not able to continue high school or graduate high school. The military is a really, really viable, reliable career path, which is kind of nice, honestly, that that exists.
Reading age of 11. On the other hand, to join the Officers Corps, you need some qualifications. The Army states that you can start the application process before you are 16, although if you actually join before the age of 18, you still need your parents' consent. You cannot apply if you are older than 33. The Army recruitment site says even criminal convictions won't stop you getting in. As
Wow.
it states, Army life is a great way to make a fresh start.
Yeah, yeah. I actually am like happy about that. I think it's so great that basically no matter what circumstance you find yourself in life, for our whole population, and apparently the British population as well, there's this fallback of like, okay, I can join the military, and that can be a lifelong career. And in America, you can get a great retirement at the end of that career and all. It's really, really great that that exists. Obviously, it's an occupation where you are by definition putting yourself in harm's way, so it comes with a huge caveat. But it's nice that it's kind of a career anyone can get into, and depending on your kind of aptitude and motivation, you can kind of rise up the ranks like really highly and become an officer and all sorts of things.
You'll be given some medical tests and also have to prove you are fit. One such fitness test is to run 1.5 miles in less than 10 minutes 30 seconds, or 12 minutes 45 seconds for females.
10 minutes for 1.5 miles. That's not like, yes, I think all this is so American of me. I was gonna be like, is that too fast? Is that too? It's like, no, that's probably how fit you should be if you're gonna be in the military.
You'll also have to do 44 push-ups in less than 2 minutes. Females only have to do 21. Once that
Wow.
is done, you will join a 20 to 40 week boot camp to learn basic skills and see what area you might specialize in.
Wait. Did he see? He said a 20 to 40 week boot camp? 20 to 40 weeks? That's like 5 or 10 months? The American boot camp for Army personnel was 10 weeks, I believe. The British boot camp is twice as long or 4 times as long. I wonder what that is and if that produces any kind of meaningful difference in like how prepared recruits are at the end of it. I mean, it must, right?
Once you are in, what can you expect? In the US Army, you'll receive healthcare, food allowance, housing, and pay. You might
Right.
also be paid more depending on where you are deployed. Wage depends on your rank, but if you've just started out, you'll get a basic salary of just less than $2,000 a month, as well as
Right.
housing benefits.
Okay, so not a great pay starting out, but just the fact that you're gonna get housing, you're gonna get food, you're gonna get the necessities for staying alive are gonna be taken care of, and hey, you're gonna get $2,000 a month. This is why it's kind of like a great option for a lot of people who didn't necessarily see themselves as like, oh, I want to join the military for my career in life, but for people who just can't really turn anywhere else, it's great that this is available.
After 2 years of service, this goes up, and if you are deployed somewhere like Afghanistan, you can receive extra deployment pay of $250 a month for separation from family, $150 hazard pay, and $225 for being in the line of fire and in imminent danger.
I did not know that. I didn't know you actually get paid more for how much danger you're in. It kind of makes sense when you think about it. I just guess I never thought about it that way.
British Army newbies during their long training stage will get as much as $24,890 a year.
Okay.
Once you are trained,
Okay, so this is the British Army starting out.
during their long training stage will get as much as $24,890 a year. Once you are trained, you'll begin a series of steps from lieutenant to second lieutenant and earn between $33,297 and $42,669 for a number of years.
Wow, that sounds great. So there's like a really defined pathway available for like all British Army members to like get to second lieutenant and get up to that 40,000 a year mark basically. Is that what all British Army members like kind of will reach that level at some point? That's great if that's how it works.
A downside for British troops is that they don't seem to be paid extra for hazards and getting shot at. In fact, according
Yeah.
to recent articles in the media, given they often work 16 hours a day, their wage ends up being less than the hourly British minimum wage.
Oh, because of how long they work every day. It's actually not a good hourly wage. I don't know if that just comes with the territory of being in the military. And the whole hazard pay, danger pay. I didn't even know that was a thing in America.
In the UK and the US Army, if you stay longer than 5 years, your rank and salary will improve greatly if you are doing a good job. Once you have decades under your belt, you might achieve colonel, and in both armies, the pay is good.
Yeah. I think this 5-year mark sounds like that's kind of true in the British Army as well. In the American Army, British Army, if you reach the 5-year mark, that's how long they want you to stay at a minimum. Like get to 5 years, and there's a whole lot of incentives. You start getting a lot more pay, maybe like retirement options start kicking in and promotion options, but that is something I think is true for both militaries.
U.S. colonel with less than 2 years in the position will receive about $91,000 a year, including
Wow.
benefits, while the British colonel just after promotion to the position will receive $109,855 a year.
I don't know how hard it is to become a colonel. That doesn't sound easy. But that pay is good. That is good, I'll say it. 91,000 a year, 109,000 a year in Britain. Being a colonel in the armies is like literally like a well-paying job.
Brits receive a total of 6 weeks paid vacation time a year, which includes public holidays, while U.S. soldiers receive 30 days a year, providing they worked the full year.
Classic American jobs, even our military, even our government is classic American, way less holiday and time off than any other country in the world, it seems like. We are so reluctant to give people time off.
They also get public holidays. This amounts to about the same as a British soldier. Retirement benefits
Never mind. Amounts to about the same. I just like complaining about that at any time I can, even if it's not necessarily true in this instance.
are a little confusing as it depends on how long you have been
Oh, hold on. This is about retirement now?
about the same as a British soldier. Retirement benefits are a little confusing as it depends on how long you have been a soldier. In the US, if you work 20 years in the Army, you'll receive 50% of the last pay packet you received. So if you earn 70
Yes. Okay. This I'm familiar with. I know some people in the military. If you get to 20 years, you'll get however high up you have ascended in the ladder, whatever position you're at, whatever you're getting paid, you will receive 50% of that pay for the rest of your life once you hit 20 years. And every year you work after 20 years, it just gets better and better and better, extra 2.5%. That is so, I mean, that sounds so fantastic. If you reach something like colonel and you get to, like $100,000, you retire, you get $50,000 a year for the rest of your life just coming in to your bank account. Is that one of the best retirement plans imaginable, honestly?
$1,000, you'll get around $35,000 per year for the rest of your life. If you decide to stay on each year, the 50% will go up by 2.5%. In the UK,
Wow.
you can wait until 55 to collect your pension, or also opt to leave the service after 35 years and collect 50% of final pensionable pay.
Wait a minute, I need to hear that again.
Go up by 2.5%. In the UK, you can wait until 55 to collect your pension, or also opt to leave the service after 35 years and collect 50% of final pensionable pay.
Final pensionable pay. I'm not sure what that means. Is it 50% of whatever you are earning? Or whatever pensionable pay is? How do you determine that? So this in the British Army, it's after 35 years, or you have to be 55 years old.
Soldiers can also opt to pay into different pension schemes. A very important matter is life on the job, and certainly if you are working in a dangerous area. The latest statistics, according to the U.S. Department of Defense Casualty Report, says that the war on terror claimed the lives of 2,350 in and around Afghanistan from 2001 to 2015.
Wow.
20,092 soldiers were injured. 40 U.S. deaths and 183 wounded followed in later campaigns in the same areas. What the
Sad.
government called freeing Iraq amounted to 4,424 U.S. deaths and 31,954
Man.
wounded. Later campaigns in Iraq have claimed hundreds more lives. Far fewer British soldiers lost their lives in the Iraq invasion, with the number reported at 179. Less
Okay.
than 500 were killed in Afghanistan. In fact, The Economist reports that since 1945, a total of 7,186 British soldiers' lives have been lost around the globe.
Not too much to say about this part. Like, it's just sad. Like, I'm not even gonna get into, like, oh, that's less than this amount, or how many people that country lost. It's like, people lost their lives in the line of duty. That is sad and tragic.
The US number is over 100,000 since the same date. Another thing we should mention is the effect being a soldier might have on the mind. Reports state that US soldiers are 7 times more likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder than UK soldiers, a condition that has been well documented in books and documentaries.
Wait. American soldiers are 7 times more likely to get PTSD than British soldiers? Is that what he said?
Post-traumatic stress disorder might have on the mind. Reports state that US soldiers are 7 times more likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder than UK soldiers, a condition that has been well documented in books and documentaries.
Why is that? Why are I know a lot of American military personnel get PTSD. It's like a huge problem that's not talked about nearly enough in the United States. A lot of people have stories about that. But why are American soldiers getting PTSD at 7 times the rate of British soldiers? Why are American soldiers so much more traumatized? What is the reason?
Experts suggest that this is cultural, and certain cultures deal with stress and trauma in different ways. Apparently, the British stiff upper lip plays a part here, and it seems American soldiers express their grief, while the Brits bottle it up or even turn to the bottle.
Oh, geez. Oh, wow. I was gonna say, so Americans just aren't handling it as well as a culture, but Brits are handling it differently, not talking about it, which could arguably be worse, that they're not expressing these emotions or getting therapy or whatever you have to do when you come back with PTSD. Wow. Yeah, that's a whole sad situation too.
Speaking about British soldiers, after working with them in the Middle East, one American troop is quoted as saying, "Those Brits are a strange old race. They show affection by abusing each other, but think nothing of casually stopping in the middle of a firefight for their brew up, and eat food that I wouldn't give to a dying dog."
This is the American description of the British troops. Like, they're making fun of each other, they're being mean to each other, but they love each other. That's how they show love. What the heck? And they're stopping in the middle of a fight to have a drink, or some of the most British stuff I've ever heard.
He also said he'd prefer to fight alongside those troops than any other country's soldiers. The reason
There you go. And they loved it, and Americans loved it. That's kind of nice. This is nice to hear.
he said, was that when the chips are down and there is no hope left, they just soldier on. This sounds nice, and it's quoted all over the internet, but we can't confirm the original source or its veracity. So, tell us which military you would rather join, and if you've been a soldier or no one, why not?
Wow. Interesting. That was by the Infographics show, and I liked it. I gotta give that a like. You know, for the most part, I guess I'll say what I ended up thinking about all this is our armies are pretty similar. Like, you can become a British Army member a little younger, but the pay is pretty similar, the benefits are pretty similar, the duties are pretty similar. Yeah, like, it was just all a lot more similar than I guess I realized, which is just interesting. I think both the British Army and American Army are known throughout the world as being like some of the best armies on the planet. It's just that America loves to spend a million times as much money on it. So we just have, like, you know, a bunch of stuff, jets and tanks and stuff laying around doing God knows what. But besides that, it all seemed pretty similar. So that's actually really cool to learn more about. Very interesting, honestly. This is kind of a topic that I really haven't learned much about before. Militaries from other countries outside of America? What? That's a thing? Huh? No, but seriously, I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to British culture and stuff about Britain that I have never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.